Juju Smith-Schuster, let's get a baseline by going over a few trades. Positional pivot, would you go Juju or Miles Sanders?
Man, you're tugging at Shane's heartstrings right there.
Nope.
I think he's trying, but he's on mute.
I was on mute. I kept saying, it's Juju. It's Juju. It's easily Juju. It's not even remotely close. It's Juju. Think about what Juju could, turn into, right? If he has a smash season with Patrick Mahomes, who's more likely to have a smash season? Is it Juju Smith-Schuster tied to Patrick Mahomes, or is it Miles Sanders tied to? Well, let's see. He's not even the best running back in his own backfield because his quarterback's a better running back.
I think I go Juju. Just what could be is worth the risk of paying a RB3 for.
Juju Smith-Schuster or 2.23 seconds.
Juju.
It's closer. I think it just comes down to your league. What do you think you can get with one of those seconds? If you can buy somebody with similar risk, then I would probably do that. But yeah, it's a fair price. 2 seconds for Juju. Not worth a first. I think we've established that. Even a 24 first. I don't think he's worth a 24 first.
Juju and a projected mid 23 first or CeeDee Lamb?
Sedarius.
Ooh.
It's close.
It's interesting because if Shane's fairly high on Juju, that's a pretty decent process deal. Will CeeDee Lamb have a better year than Juju's best year?
Wide receiver 9? Yes, he will.
Interesting. Okay. I think I'd still go Lamb just for the potential market value, but that's a very strong offer. Very strong offer.
It's a good offer. If it was a little stronger than Juju, it might get done, but it's not. So here we are.
Okay, so we got a baseline there. Scott, Juju Smith-Schuster, how do you think he's going to do in Kansas City?
Well, I'm a big believer in the quarterbacks drive the efficiency of the receivers. We know that. So he's got everything you could ask for, right? Like he's on the perfect situation on a 1-year deal. If he has a big year, I mean, I could see him going to the Chargers because he's from LA, like there's a lot of places that you could be like, wow, he's a locked in wide receiver 2 with wide receiver 1 upside on the right offense. And he certainly has that right there. So hopefully he earns, that role with the Chiefs and they want to bring him back. But it's just a big opportunity. So I'm probably higher on him than most. It's just, can you get to the point where you're trading in a deal like Rashad Bateman or Elijah Moore or someone like that? Even if you get Juju plus, do you really want to go that route? That's a big bet on him bouncing back. A guy like Bateman, if him and Juju has identical stats this year, Bateman will be valued twice as much on the open market. So do you even want to explore that type of deal at the same time? Like you're not buying Juju for a single second. Because people are like, oh, he's in a great spot. He's been really good before, even though that was 3 years ago. So he's tough to value. He's a guy you wouldn't pay a first for, but I wouldn't blame somebody if they're like, I want a first. Otherwise, I'm not moving him. So he's a tough player to value, but I definitely have been buying this offseason, and I'll continue as long as the price is where it is right now.
Shane, you got the smirk on your face. I'm sure it's about Juju.
No, I mean, Juju's fine. I'm not going out of my way to acquire him because his success definitely was a long time ago. Every excuse that was built in for him basically revolved around, Ben Roethlisberger. Okay, well, Deontay Johnson went out there and absolutely smashed. Chase Claypool as a rookie went out there and smacked Juju around. We saw it was very disheartening. Juju is not an alpha. He's not a wide receiver 1. I don't even think he'll be a wide receiver 1 in Kansas City, and I don't even expect that. I think his upside's like wide receiver 17, which is good. You know what I mean? Don't get me wrong. But that's also him tied to the most efficient quarterback in the league, one of the top 3 quarterbacks. Juju's basically a guy like I'm hoping he smashes so I can trade him immediately when his value rises. I love Juju coming out of college, great prospect profile. First 2 years were absolute smashes, but that was a long time ago. Lots of things have changed in 3 years, namely that he's been a crap stick. And if you want to blame injuries, whatever, it doesn't matter. His numbers are his numbers. You can't blame the quarterback when there's guys on his team eating his lunch.
Shane, your guy, Skyy Moore. He's your dude. You probably just drafted him in a lot of spots.
Yeah, big fan of Skyy Moore. Overdrafted him, definitely. Pushed him up the board when he got the tied to Patrick Mahomes. He's a good college prospect, right? We talked about stuff that's really good. He's an early declare from a non-group of 5. Is that what they're called, Scott? From a non-big school, whatever. And he's an early declare, which usually bodes really well because those guys don't declare early. They usually wait till they're Christian Watson's age at 27 and turn pro. Really good splits, really good route runner. If that matters to anyone, I think it's going to matter to the Chiefs. He can play a little inside and a little outside. I like him. I fully expect him to be a wide receiver too. I expect him to outperform Juju.
Yeah, I don't agree with Shane that Skyy Moore will outproduce Juju. I actually think Skyy Moore will probably be maybe the fourth highest producing weapon on the Chiefs passing game. Like, I can see him behind MVS, Juju, and Kelsey for this year, but I think he does enough. It's almost comparable to me as like what Bateman was last year with the Ravens, except there's probably even an extra player in there that's going to get in the way a little bit. But like, Bateman had a good year, but he was the third option on his own team for only like half the year. Other times he really wasn't even the third option. But it still was successful enough for the Dynasty community to say, okay, this guy can play. Then when the situation starts to shake itself out after next year, because you look at Juju's deal, it's a 1-year deal. MVS's deal, I believe it was one of those overinflated deals where like the Chiefs don't have to commit past a year. I think Skyy Moore can have a 40 catch, 475 yard season, and then the Dynasty community will blow up on him next year if maybe Kelsey takes a step back and one of those other two receivers are gone. So like, he can get there in multiple paths. So you want to have investment in him, but I am also hesitant on looking at a guy from a MAC school, only 21, coming in and outproducing Juju. Even if Juju's bad, I think we can probably say Juju's going to get 65, 70 catches, 800 yards. Like, if Skyy Moore has that rookie year with Mahomes, he's a top 15 or better Dynasty receiver next year, maybe even top 10, the way that we hype these guys after 1 year as a rookie. If he outproduces Juju, where does he go in Dynasty next year? Is he a top 12 guy because of that?
Probably.
I honestly think you could justify him over Jameson Williams for that reason, not because of the pedigree, not because of the draft capital. But like, I don't think there's a path where Jahan Dotson or Jameson Williams are a top 12 Dynasty receiver after this year, no matter what they do. There is a 5% outcome where Skyy Moore is a top 12 Dynasty receiver this time next year. I look at Chris Olave, Jameson Williams, Pickens, Watson. I don't see a path for any of those guys to jump that high. They can jump into like Devontae Smith range. We're like, hey, yeah, they're really good. They're a solid receiver. But I could see Skyy Moore, like, if he goes out and has an 800-yard year, it's like, oh my gosh, they let Juju walk and Kelsey was phased out a little bit. Like, dude, this guy could smash.
Now, we always go off of a start 10, right? So we're looking for hammers, not so much depth as you would in a start 12 or start 13. So MVS, would you still consider him to have some value in a start 10? I mean, would you throw a third at him?
Look, MVS could definitely, he's a guy that he performed decently in Green Bay when he had an opportunity. I think we kind of know what he is, but again, he's still tied to a hell of an offense. And there's no Devontae Adams on that roster.
No, I think MVS in a start 10 is really only valuable as if you have Mahomes, but he's also one of those roster cloggers where there's a chance that he emerges as like the secondary target or the second leading target guy on a great team. Reality, he's the third most valuable wide receiver by a long shot on the team. Even if he goes out and has 3 big games to start the season, a la like Sammy Watkins start from a couple years ago, that type of thing. Is the community really going to be like, oh, he's the wide receiver 1 when they've seen it for 4 years in another place where he was just he's a deep threat. He's a 90 target guy, which for the Chiefs, that could be a wide receiver 28 for the Chiefs. You know what I mean? Like that can get there, but is he ever going to have any value to trade? No. So I'm more of if I have him, I'll keep him. I want to have him in the right spots. Otherwise, I just really don't want to mess with him on a roster.